They're my favorite.
That's my favorite too. It's cool. Picard.
I love Picard.
I love Picard.
I love it. There's something It's good luck to do that, ladies, by the way. I mean, it's good luck for me.
Well, you guys go right ahead.
Thanks, AJ.
So where should we stand?
Well, I think we can pull these out a little bit, or you can go there.
Yeah, we can use this, and you can stand right next to me. Oh. Is this okay? It looks like we're giving a lecture. Really, on the human reproductive cycle.
Oh, yes. Shall we demonstrate?
I love it. See, I told you, it's all good luck for me. If you have, you can obviously feel free to ask either of us a question about our particular show, or if you don't, then I'll ask Nicole some questions that are sure to embarrass her.
Go ahead.
No, not too late. Right there.
I actually have a question for you, Robert. You recently did a really great guest spot on Supernatural, where you played Not Nice Fairy. I was wondering if you can tell me what your experience was like.
Not Nice Fairy?
I played a Not Nice Fairy. Yes, I played a guy who you think is an expert on close encounters, alien encounters. You know, that's what he does. He chases all over the country looking for people who've had first encounters with aliens, and then he turns out to be a leprechaun. Or a leprechaun man, as I call him. And yes, it was great because I got to beat the crap out of Jared Padalecki, which was cool, because he could kill me with his bare hands. But I had a stick, and I wanted to be on that show forever because my two daughters, especially my younger one, Gina, are huge fans of that show. So my stock at home went up quite a bit when I got on the show. However, I've noticed that I'm one of the only actors that they haven't had back. So other than you and me, I think nobody else liked me. Because why they had, unless you all write in now, and I mean now, go. I'm likely that I won't be back.
That's cool though that you were on that. That's a good show.
It's a great show. It's a really, and I come very close to getting a character that ended up doing 40 episodes. I won't say who that is because he's, you know what, I will say who that is. There's a wonderful actor named Kurt Fuller. Kurt Fuller played one of the, I think you think he's an angel and then he turns out to be a demon. He's Jared Padalecki's boss. When he, in like 2 or 3 seasons ago he started. Anyway, the only interesting thing about the story, and it may not be that interesting, is Kurt Fuller was my runner-up to play the Doctor. He was the #2, so when he got Supernatural instead of me, I couldn't actually complain. Do you want to add? I'll be the pointer. Yes?
I have a question for you, Robert. If you had to pick an episode from Voyager that you could do over and over again, you can do so much fun, which episode would you pick and why?
This is not fair. You know the answer to that. The Doctor's Daydreaming, where the Doctor changes his program. So there's a scene in the briefing room where all 3 of our female cast members throw themselves at me. Jerry Ryan propositions me via pad. Roxanne has her naked foot rubbing up against my ankle under the table. And then Kate Mulgrew places my hand on her lower back pain, which is the lowest lower back pain. Felt great to have my hand on the seat of power. It was an all-around good experience, and I would reshoot that episode every day. If I could. I also think I sketched Jerry Ryan in the nude in that show, which was the producer said, "What would some of the Doctor's fantasies be?" And I'm afraid I answered that question too quickly. It's like a little too revealing. A question for Nicole.
Yeah.
Yes?
There you go.
Hi.
Hi. What's your favorite memory of DS9?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I have one favorite memory. I mean, well, I have to say, because I was a big fan of The Next Generation, like just huge for me, and I watched it with my stepdad religiously every week, and when I ended up being on a Star Trek show, it was incredible for me. So I would have to say it hit me after I did a scene with Michael Dorn where we were kidnapped on some planet and we had our kiss, right? And I walked away from that scene after going, oh my God, I just kissed Boer. cool. And painful as well, because he's got the Klingon teeth in, so you have to be very careful. We do one version where you're coming in for the kiss and you see his teeth, and then we do another version where he takes his teeth out. Both are hot. You're welcome, Michael.
I don't remember getting to kiss a woman 15 years younger than me on camera in Star Trek. Like, I don't think that happened. He's a lucky guy. That was a good thing. Although Kes kissed me on the cheek once or twice, right? Didn't she? Kes? Kes was 19, and I was 42, so I guess I shouldn't complain. Neelix, Ethan Phillips has a joke that, you know, Kes is 3, but she looks 1. I said it's a sick joke, but I'd like you to attribute that to him. Right through there, yes. Let's both answer that. You want to both answer?
Do you still keep in touch with Voyager people, or just with people?
I do. The Voyager men get together for dinner at a very nice steak restaurant about twice a year.
Oh, I heard about.
And it's called the Boy Boys, we call it. And the last time was about 2 months ago. Only Tim Russ couldn't make it because he was recording. The rest of us, chronically unemployed that we are, were there, and there were some pictures that were put up on the internet. It was like a little reunion, so you could find them somewhere. Garrett on Garrett's page, and then the ladies. I saw Jerry Ryan when I did Body of Proof. I saw Jerry on that, even though we had no scenes together, about 3 months ago, and then. Kate has just arrived in California to do her 2nd season of her Adult Swim show. So I will see her in the next 10 days.
What?
Kate is starring on an Adult Swim. You ever hear of Adult Swim?
Swing.
You can tell what Nicole's thinking about all the time.
I really thought you said swing, or Adult Swim show, you know.
They don't have Adult Swim here, right? You don't know what that, I mean, it's a comedy network, has a nighttime show with, it used to be just adult-themed cartoons, now it has live-action shows. And Kate is on a parody of it's like 24 and CSI put together. And she's very funny on it. She plays the director of Homeland Security. And the show is called... The show is called NTSF-SDSUV.
And I don't have any regular steak dinner party, but I see people on conventions, different conventions, in Germany, in England, wherever, or sometimes on the plane. One time I saw Jerry Ryan on the plane. She didn't know who I was, and we were both in first class going from LA to Vancouver. It was just years ago though. And I think she was a bit sick. I think she had a cold or something, poor thing. And she was asleep. And I was next to her. And don't tell her. But I went in real close like this. She is beautiful. I went right up close to her. I was like, that is a stunning woman. Yep. Don't tell her that I did that.
She has good skin.
Really good skin.
I've only seen some of it, unfortunately. Very good skin. The man in the hat.
Yeah, I have a question. It's actually being forwarded from Montreal. I'd like to know whether or not, Robert, you drew inspiration from the data in I guess, the EMH's quest for humanity.
Well, obviously, a lot of the story, my biggest fear getting the part of the Doctor was that I would be compared unfavorably to Data because everybody loved him. And I thought, oh great, now I have to do all of those storylines, you know, the artificial intelligence and everyone, and competing with this lovable Pinocchio-like character. But fortunately, they conceived me as such a douchebag. Such a cranky, curmudgeonly, that there was no way I was going to get confused with him. I think that I borrowed, but more than borrowing from Data, because I may have borrowed a little bit, I borrowed from DeForest Kelley. And when I told him that, he said, "Ah, you mean you steal from me?" And I went, pretty much. And I borrowed from Dr. Smith on A Lost in Space. Remember Dr. Smith? The sort of cranky, slightly gay side of the Doctor, I think, came from him. The wild-eyed side. A question for Nicole.
Yes?
How difficult was it replacing Jadzia Dan on
How difficult was it to replace Jadzia? I
well, I
mean,
mean, it's kind of
of course. Yeah, well, there are a lot of people who love that character. It wasn't, I think it was just ignorance. I didn't know really the size of it all, what was going on. I got the part really quickly, flown in there, started work within a few days, and that was it. And so I didn't have time to worry about it, thank God, or I think I would have got myself into a state of panic if I really realized what was happening, you know? And everybody was so great and welcoming, and it helped for my character too, because I had a scene with this character introducing myself as Ezri, and then I'd go to Quark, and then I'd go to, you know, so it worked. It really helped me in the process. It was quite easy, I have to say. That which was lovely, which is a tribute to how wonderful everybody else was, all the other actors.
Yes?
For Nicole, though it also applies to Robert, a lot of your career now has been science fiction genre, film and television. Do you find that that's been a blessing in your career, or have you sort of had that idea now that that's the type of part you're presenting?
That's a really good question. Yeah, a lot of my career now is sci-fi based. And, you know, I think for a minute, back when I was younger, I was concerned, oh, is this going to, you know, have a stigma now that I only do sci-fi? But really, I mean, it is a blessing. It truly is, because I have an amazing fan base, and that gets looked at when I'm cast in things. And sci-fi is cool, hello. And it's everywhere now. It's not just, you know, it's huge movies, huge, you go to Comicon now. When I first used to go to Comicon, it was nowhere near the size now. There's Paris Hilton there going to parties at Comicon, which would not have happened. It's super cool now, you know? So I love being part of it. I'm proud of being part of it. I'm a nerd myself. So yeah, I see it definitely as a blessing. I have a wonderful fan base, and it helps me a lot, and it's great. Thanks.
I agree. I agree. I think science fiction fans are the most loyal fans in the world, second only to Canadian science fiction fans. Okay, I'm through kissing your ass. That's it. I see a Starfleet, I think, cuff back there. That's it. It was attached to your arm, sir.
Actually, this is a question for both of you. What do you think about the working in the other Stargate realm as opposed to Star Trek? Both of you guys.
Oh, because we both did?
Didn't you just?
Yes, right.
How embarrassing for her.
No, I didn't know that you did. No, I'm just kidding.
I was actually a regular.
Oh, no. You just you're all over the place.
I am. I'm like
You
roaches.
are all over the place. And you were even on the Dead Zone with us, too.
I was on the Dead Zone, which
where
I was married to Jane Lynch. How's that for cool?
Oh.
The star of Glee on your show.
She was on the show?
Yes, she had the much
See, I wasn't in that episode.
She had the much better part than I did. But she's hilarious, and was in that too.
I can't believe Jane Lynch was in it. Okay, anyway. Yes, Stargate, well, I'm a bit disappointed because I went into that show, you know, sort of being told that I might be a continuing character in the next season. So, and then, you know, they did this thing where they had a whole female away team. So you've got a bunch of actresses who've all been told that one of them might be on the show next year. So that's really fun, back at the trailers. And, just kidding, it was great, we got along great. But we were all kind of hoping, and then unfortunately the show didn't go. But I would have been thrilled to have been on Stargate. That'd be great.
I was hired, no, I loved it. I was hired as a one-off to be a complete jerk, a guy who came in to assign blame for a tragedy that had happened.
I think I've seen those ones.
Heroes Part 1, which Saul Rubinek was a guest star on, was so good, and it was 10 minutes long. and they didn't want to cut it. So they needed 35 minutes of filler material, and they thought, and they wrote this whole other plot where I came in to assign blame for the death of Dr. Fraser, sorry, Charles Rothbury's character. So I'm brought in, and everyone hates me. I have no personality. I'm a complete sort of just asshole. And but the producers liked me. They chatted me up off camera. They liked me, and then they decided to have me back. But they had already created this guy that nobody liked. So every time they had me back, I was still a complete asshole, but I had one new redeeming quality. Like the first time they had me back, I was a complete asshole who meant well. Then I was a complete
puppies.
Then a complete asshole who meant well, who knew he was an asshole, who knew nobody liked him. And then they would keep redeeming me, and then eventually, 5 years later, I was the commander of the Atlantis expedition. And they called and said, we're gonna make, I said, wait a minute, guys. I'm a jerk, I'm a coward, I have no leadership skills, and I run away from danger faster than anyone else. How are you gonna make me the leader? They said, don't worry, that's our problem. Well, I thought it was great.
Spin doctoring in politics, yes.
That never happens in real life.
Exactly, it would never happen. And you know what, outside of that, the challenge of playing somebody, a character in later life, trying to redefine himself like that, right? If he'd spent his life as a think tank guy, the guy who second-guessed other people's decisions, you know, the Monday morning quarterback conference room guy, and then suddenly he was going to be one of the realies who was going to try to lead himself. And that, it ended up being a fun and interesting challenge to try to pull off that transition. But I don't think my jaw ever dropped lower than when I got that call saying, how would you feel about taking over? Because I thought they were playing a joke on me. I really thought they were kidding. Yes, sir?
For both of you, who from each of your casts would you like to work more with? Didn't get a lot of scene time with?
That's two. I always loved working with Cole Meany, because he just makes me laugh, and I think he's awesome. But that I didn't get enough scene time with, I can't think of anyone. There's so many of us, there's so many people. How about you?
I mean, I got lots of scenes with Jerry and lots of scenes with Kate, which were always great fun. I guess I wish I had more with Ethan Phillips, because they paired us quite a bit early on, and then not so much then, because he and I are very good friends. And I also loved scenes with Robbie, because I think Robbie has a very dry and wry wit about him, so I could have done with a few more of those. And Tim Russ, when he hadn't had, you know, chili, was wonderful.
Nicole, I'm surprised that you didn't mention work.
The work?
I had enough scenes with Boer, yeah, with Michael. I helped him work out. You know, near the end of the series, he realized, whoa, I've been playing this part for 10 years now. I'm going to be back out there. I'm going to get myself in shape. So he started curling me and stuff. You know, I would just get all tense like this. He would curl me and lift me up, and we would do a whole workout routine every time.
I'm not going to touch that one.
See, I heard that
oh, man, he looks great.
Because he became vegan.
Yeah, Michael looks great. You've probably seen him on Castle and all that. He's very trim now. And not that he wasn't trim before, but he was beefy.
I wonder if he started waxing though.
He started waxing. Again, I'm not going to touch that. Yes?
Well, what's left on your, professionally speaking, what's left on you guys' bucket list of things you guys want to do?
Professional bucket list.
Professional bucket list.
Work together, obviously.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, now that this is the first time we've ever been on stage together. And I did guest star on her show, but we'd had no scenes together. So that would be one.
I'd just like another job. But that's a good one for the bucket list.
I feel the same way. It's nice to have a steady job. I mean, the fun, you know, when you look back on your career as an actor, I think we appreciate the variety but a lot of times you're getting variety without much security.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have both too. And if I know I enjoy the sense of family when you're on a show that runs a number of years. And I feel lucky to have been on, you know, 3 different TV series over my career, but it's always nice to have a regular excuse to get out of the house, especially when my wife always has 3 or 4 things she'd like me to do that.
And I would say too that I would really like to be on another sci-fi show. I mean, there's lots of types of great shows, obviously. But often I'm going out for the girlfriend part, which is really tedious after a while. And so I find in sci-fi, you get a lot more to do, and women get a lot more to do, and you're a lot stronger. So I really enjoy doing that. So I would be quite fine if my next job was another sci-fi show.
How about right in the front there? The lady next to you I was pointing to.
Talking to the woman in front of me at the autograph line and asked her to ask you to tell a story about AI.
I was asked what the most embarrassing job of my career was. I will tell you really quickly. I've done several sci-fi channel movies. One of them was called AI Assault. And basically, my agent sent it to me. He said, you have to answer right away. They said, Michael Dorn is in it, George Takei. And I read it, the first 15 pages, and my character died on page 15. And before, I'm some scientist who's developing an artificial intelligence kind of robot attack system, right? This giant thing. It was basically looked like Dr. Octopus, but like the cheap version of that. But anyway, so in the first scene, I'm flying back on a jumbo jet with these things in the hull of the ship. I'm talking to a wonderful actress who used to be on Baywatch. Really pretty, have no idea what her name was. So we're talking, I do all the exposition for the whole movie. And I figure that's it, I die. So right before I shoot that scene, the day before, I got a call from the costume department saying, we need to know your hat size. And I said, well, I'm on an airplane, my 15 pages, and then and then the plane goes down and I die. I said, why would I wear a hat on the airplane? They said, no, this is at the end of the movie when you come back as the zombie robot. Moral of the story is read the whole script. No one told me I came back as a zombie. Now the thing is, do you want to admit to anybody on the production you haven't read the whole script? No, you don't. So here was my response. When they said, when you come back as a zombie, I went, oh, right, when I come back at the end of the movie as the zombie robot. But what I wanted to ask was, here's the really stupidest part of the story. If the special effects department was going to make this headpiece for me, they were going to make it from my hat size? I mean, usually you have your head molded and it takes 2 or 3 days of design. Not this production. They went to Walmart, bought a lady's swim cap, glued some blinkies on it, and stuck it on my head. And that scene in the movie, when I die again, when the zombie comes back to life, is the most embarrassing piece of film I've ever done. My children watch it over and over and over. It is completely humiliating. I'm walking like this. Anyway, so now you can all look it up.
But I will say I am guilty of not reading the whole script when I do some of these movies, right? And it's from the wardrobe ladies that I always find out what happens.
Because you have another change.
Always, because she'll say, okay, and she'll call me and I'm in the middle of the day, okay, yeah, let's go over the script, let's go over what I'm wearing. Okay, She says, and I'm thinking maybe not a skirt, for the scene where you're hanging from the building, where you're getting your son. I'm like, what? I'm doing what? Yeah, it's where I find out what I'm doing, is the wardrobe ladies.
And now this gentleman, since I didn't.
Have you ever tried to create your own projects?
I have a pilot right now that I did not write, but it's based on a character. I do an internet character named Alfonso, that some of you may have seen. Alfonso is the world's leading authority, one person, sorry. World's leading authority on fine wine and extramarital sex. It's sort of like a way over the hill Italian gigolo with a wig and a smoking jacket and a heavy accent, and I give you advice on your sex life, which I really emphasize you don't take any of that advice. But the character is so fun and silly and so embedded in like the early 70s. He's like a swinger that never died and never went away. That we based a pilot on him that is being pitched around right now and is quite. It's like a workplace comedy in a dying men's magazine. A men's magazine that hasn't been profitable for 30 years. And this guy still runs it. So it's about young people being brought in and they have to manage the 800-pound gorilla who happens to be the owner of the magazine. It's kind of silly, but it's a fun character. So if you have never seen me play Alfonso, go to YouTube and write Robert Picardo as Alfonso. And it is R-rated. If you're under 12, don't do that.
That's a real bummer to hear. Because I too have a YouTube show called Alfonsi. And I too.
You're a porn star. That's not fair. Yeah, the gentleman right in the front there.
Were there any I'm a doctor lines that didn't make it into the show?
No, I did pretty much every I'm a doctor, not a blank you could do. You know, I did that at my audition. I think that's why they cast me. I ad-libbed. I'm a doctor, not a nightlight. And I swear, after seeing 900 actors play this part, for that cheesy joke, they hired me. So I highly recommend cheesy jokes. No, I heard that they wanted the part to be funny, and they had 9 lines to audition with, and there really wasn't much there. So I did ad-lib that, not realizing that it was a DeForest Kelley ripoff. I just did it because I thought it was funny that this very technological, advanced thing, if you left him on, it was like forgetting to shut the light off. So I just thought it was.
Wait, sorry. So that's what they had you do?
No, that's what I did. I did it as an ad-lib at the end of my audition. And you don't ad-lib on Star Trek. It's like the biggest no-no in the world. You never ad-lib.
No.
If you have it's fine to have a spontaneous idea on Star Trek.
No,
if
there's
you
like
have
6 producers right there checking every word.
Exactly. So if you have an idea, have it 5 days in advance. And then if they like it, they'll write it in. But you never do anything on the spot. We never do.
No.
Because they have very tight control of the show. And understandably, they think that something that comes up off the cuff might seem too contemporary, might take people out of the idea that this is 300 years in the future. But they don't like you to ad-lib. So the fact that I ad-libbed at the audition, you would think would have been a major no-no. But that was the last time I got to do it. Yes, in white? Yes.
Okay, my question for you is, as being the doctor, like you created a journey of having someone who was just a hologram to do the basic job, but over time he had a journey of emotions, and one of the best shows I saw you on was When You Meet Your Creator. How was that, like filming that, and what did you take from that experience?
The one where I met Dr. Zimmerman, the programmer?
Yes.
That was that was my story idea with my partner. I think I'm the first actor they ever gave a story credit to. There's a favorite play of mine called I Never Sang for My Father, and basically we ripped that off. I just thought it would be fun to have a father-son drama where the father was an engineer and the son was a technological creation, but they had still the same issues with each other. The engineer was disappointed that his offspring had not turned out the way he thought it would, right, and was not as successful. If you remember in that, there had been 5 other iterations of the Doctor by that time, because the first one had been such a failure, my version. And then the son, from the son's point of view, he's like, I am unique, I have exceeded my programming, I'm a unique individual, look what I can do. So it was basically that, and then I got to play all those scenes with myself, which was great, because, I'm an actor I've always wanted to work with. How about a question for Nicole?
That's good.
Here.
Where? Here?
I think this.
Yes. Hi. My experiences on Kids in the Hall. Okay, yay, Kids in the Hall! Yay, community boys! Really cool because it's really an honor to have worked with those guys because they always play all the female parts. So for them to have actually allowed a woman to play one of the parts was a treat. And when I first worked with them, I was 18, a long time ago. And I just had to basically make out with Bruce McCulloch be his girlfriend Laura, the rocker, and it was great. And we did live shows at CBC. We did 2 shows a day. And they're pulling them off, and they're seeing how the audience was reacting, and it was really a treat. And actually, you know, I'm still friends with them. Dave Foley is a good friend of mine, and their comedy they're just so talented and brilliant and funny, and I think they're great. And I'm just so honored to. I was in the movie with them as well. They're hilarious guys. Thank you for that, because they should be noted. They're amazing.
This is actually for both of you. I'm wondering if you have a favorite non-Star Trek experience acting wise. If there's one job that you really liked that wasn't, Star Trek.
I had a theater career in my early 20s. I did 2 shows on Broadway, and the second one was a play with Jack Lemmon, who had been a major star and an idol of mine for many years. I played his son, and we premiered the show. The first place we did it publicly was here in Toronto at the Royal Alex Theatre, which is a very historic venue. Then we went to Boston, then we went to Broadway. And I would say spending basically a year with Jack Lemmon was an experience as an actor that I have never, with all the wonderful things that have happened to me, I've never exceeded that.
Non-Star Trek or non?
Well, anything.
It's all good, you know. I mean, I've been acting since I was 9 years old, and really, I just love to be on a set. It's just a treat to go on a set. There's that family thing. Everybody's there, doing it for money, but because they love it. Actually, a good question is I really enjoy doing indie movies where people are there doing it not for the money, because there's that camaraderie and people going that extra distance who want to be the best props guy they can be, want to be the best focus puller, want to be the best, you know, and there's a real camaraderie to that when you believe in the script and you're all there for the love of it. That's when it feels really, really special, for sure. AJ.
Can I ask one?
Yes, go ahead.
About Cube, that was kind of an independent film.
Yeah.
Did you realize how awesome it would turn out when you were filming it? Or were you like, this is a weird movie about being trapped in a cube, I don't get it?
No, Cube, well, I will say I was really excited to get it because I had only done television up to that point. And so I was pretty excited about, well, that's not true, I did Prom Night 4, but really? I can see so Cube compared to Prom Night 4, this was a film. You know, I was like, I'm doing a film. So I was pretty excited, but the budget was very low. It was very low, very tight. But I'd heard Vincenzo was an amazing director. He came out of the film center, Norman Jewison's film center, and he'd won that year to do it as a feature film project. So yeah, it was pretty special, but I had no idea. And huge in France, I think, because of its sort of existentialism to it. So it's very big. I was actually having a hot dog on Melrose in LA, and there were these 17-year-old French boys like staring at me and giggling at me. I was all by myself eating this hot dog too. And they were giggling and looking, and I thought, oh, this is making sense. So I passed them, and then they stopped me and they asked me if I was from Cube, so it was pretty cool. I'm proud of it because it was done at such a low budget, and the effects are amazing, and it's become a big cult classic, so yeah, I wouldn't have expected it. And I actually made money in the end. That rarely happens too, because they pay you the minimum and then they tell you you're going to get money with points in the back end, and you never see that money, but with Cube we actually did, so it was pretty amazing. Thanks.
Yes, with white hat.
Were there any pranks on set that were quite memorable for you?
You know, my guys were pretty tired by the time I got there. You know, wearing those heads for like 7 years, so they were pretty grumpy. No, okay, they were great, but we weren't really a prankster.
We were more, but I don't think either show is as much as Next Gen.
Next Gen was the top one.
My favorite is, and you may have heard the story, we had an episode where Tuvok dreams that he goes onto the bridge nude, and he's not aware of it. So when we shot his dream, we had the other 8 cast members standing there near the captain's chair, looking back at the transporter. The door opens, and Tuvok comes out. Now, in rehearsal, whenever an actor has a semi-clothed scene, you rehearse in a robe, right? And then you take the robe off right before you go to shoot. Well, Tim was off camera. We're all looking at him, and Tim had gone to the wardrobe department and gotten a long black knee sock and stuffed it, so that Mr. Tuvok had been enhanced. So when he took his robe off, of course, the other 7 cast members completely crack up, and the shot was ruined. But I'm so method. Playing the Doctor, I figured, you know what? I've already seen it. So I'm the only one who didn't laugh when he did that, and I didn't know that. But that was a famous day. As far as that footage, if you could get a look at that, that was probably our best, what's the word, blooper.
I think the only thing we had was, okay, so when Ezri and Julian hook up near the end of the series and the scene starts and we're in bed together the next morning or whatever. So we're shooting that scene and the director said, and action, and right then Michael Dorn ran in, you know, and said, hey, what are you doing in bed with her? So ha ha ha, we all laughed. And so then we went to do it again, and the director said action, and Cole Meany ran in and said, hey, what are you doing? Because, you know. Him and Sid.
Someone who hasn't asked one yet? You who just waved your hand there, yes. Oh, in the prom dress.
Yes. It is actually for both of you. My husband and I are both actors, and I wanted to know if there was a moment on either of your shows where you corpsed so badly that you could not get yourself back together again. That you couldn't, you know, you just couldn't stop laughing at whatever was happening. That it was really hard to collect yourself to actually...
Oh, goodness. I know it's happened. I don't think it happened on Star Trek, but I think on the Dead Zone it happened. The guy who played my husband on that was a big fan of farting. I just thought that was hilarious all the time. What?
This is something I did. I did a television movie once with Helena Bonham Carter, which I was really excited about. This is 20 years ago. She played the widow of Lee Harvey Oswald. It was sort of the ultimate woman in distress television movie. Help, my husband just shot the president, nobody likes me. And I played this conspiracy theorist based on a real guy and wearing a curly toupee, who works with her because years after after the Warren report came out, they had the House, the Senate subcommittee hearing on assassinations in like the early 80s, I think. And I played a joke. I made a joke on the set that I learned to regret. I'm rehearsing with Helena Bonham Carter playing, you know, Mrs. Oswald, who's by then remarried and has a family. And my line was, I mentioned a famous person who had been an acquaintance of Lee when they were married, Lee and Marina Oswald. And right the night before he was supposed to testify before the Senate committee hearing, he shot himself in the head. This is true. So when she asked me about him, I said, in rehearsal as a joke, I said, he shot himself in the head 7 times. Do you know how hard that is to do? Just as a joke. Well, she looked at me and burst into laughter, and that was the last thing we got done that day. For the next 6 hours, every time she looked at me, she could not stop laughing. And what started out as a great joke on the set, about an hour and a half later, the director looked at me like, I want to kill you. And by 6 hours later, it's like, I don't think we can finish this movie. So I learned, it's fine to joke on the set, but you should know your coworker. Because I think she was so method-oriented that once I had broken the illusion that I was this character, I was just some guy who made her laugh, and there was no going back. So I learned a lesson that day.
It is hard when that happens. I mean, I can't think of specifics, but when you just can't get it back, and then the director's just pissed at you after a while. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Knowing that
science fiction fans tend to be, well, maybe not tend to be, but can be very obsessive and can be very strange. I know I am. What would...
Just joking.
What would be your strangest experience with a fan, either at a convention or running into someone on the street?
Yeah, you look like you've got one. Mine is more strange from my boyfriend because I was in England and they had these guys dressed as Planet of the Apes. They're really good. Or maybe I was in Germany, I don't know. I was jet lagged. And they came down, like 3 of them came all around me. I just came out of a talk like this and walked into the hall, and then I was bombarded with these apes. But they were all around my ear and stuff. And I was like, sorry, I made me think of my boyfriend. And yeah, and he's right out there. That makes him interesting. To an ape. But that's pretty much it. I get, just signing body parts is another one. I've signed all sorts of body parts. That's all I'm gonna say.
I did. There was a Voyager fan who had the entire spaceship tattooed on her butt.
What?
And asked me to sign it, which I refused. Not so much because I'm a prude, but I didn't want pictures of me signing somebody's butt on the internet forever. But that was the oddest one. I've really had no bad experiences. I haven't, I think it's tougher on the women in the show often, but I haven't had any bad. Aside from the guy who carved my face on a headstone and gave me that as a gift. And then I looked at him like, what are you saying to me? Are you going to kill me now? Do you think that Star Trek has killed my career? And he said, he just said, no, this is what I do for a living. And I wanted to give you a gift, so I had to carry that headstone, which was a piece of marble that big, this big. I had to take it home in my carry-on bag. Now, when they open your bag at the airport, and you're carrying your own headstone, they either think you're an incredibly prepared individual, or that you just have a funny feeling about the flight. But I carried it home, and it's sat in my garden now for about 10 or 11 years. And there's a picture of it in Canadian TV Guide. There's me leaning on my headstone. Back when they did a special on Star Trek, they had the picture of me leaning on my headstone. Please don't give me anything made of stone today. Oh, we're getting the rap signal. So do we a final
question?
All right.
Fans in general, what is your message to them, the people who come out and keep coming out to these conventions to see you and support you and love you? What are your thoughts on all of that, maybe? How's that for a question?
He's Ezri for captain. That's my thought. That's my thought to all of you. Right in. Thank you.
We thank you for loyalty. All right. I mean, I know that I heard when I first got involved doing conventions that some people would say, well, the fans want your autograph, and once they've got your autograph, they've sort of had you, and then you won't see them again. And that's turned out to be completely untrue. Because I see many people, many times over the years, who've come to, because they enjoy seeing you and hearing you speak over and over again. So I call that, incredible loyalty. And as Nicole said earlier, I think we're both grateful for that. It gives us the opportunity to travel. It helps put our children through college. It does all sorts of wonderful things in our lives. So thank you.
You start beginning.